Let me ask you a question. When you meet someone polite, kind, and thoughtful, have you ever said, "Tumhari parvarish achhi rahi hogi"? That one sentence captures what this entire session is about: how families in India raise people, shape values, and build communities. In Bharat, family isn't just who you live with, it's who you grow with, it's your school, your safety net, your moral compass, your support team. And yes, sometimes it's your harshest critic too. It's a place where cousins are raised like brothers. Neighbors, you call them kaka kaki. Your elders are never strangers. They're always Mataji or Chachaji. Namaste, I'm Yugant Goyal, and in this session, I'm going to talk about how families are so important to us in this country, how they shape our everyday life in India. They shape all of us, and how family is central to our traditions, regardless of which part of India you go to. We'll see how family isn't sort of one part of life, is a center around which everything moves. It holds together generations, traditions. It holds together everyday responsibilities. From the way we celebrate festivals to how we make major or even minor decisions, how children grow up and understand the world, how we learn how to learn. Family is always there. So let's start with something familiar. In many countries, turning 18 means packing your bags, finding a small apartment, learning how to cook pasta in a tiny kitchen, and move on. In India, turning 18 often means your cousin is moving into your room so he can attend college in your city. And you'll now be sharing your study table and bathroom for the next few years. Because here, independence doesn't mean separation, it means participation. Families in Bharat, they don't stop at two parents and a child. It's a kutumbam, a full ecosystem. Includes grandparents who still know your school timetable, your uncles or aunts who give you surprise life advice during dinner, sometimes annoyingly, aunts who won't let you leave hungry, siblings who are part roommate, part referee, and sometimes even your neighbor's nephew who's staying over during his exam week. Nobody finds this unusual. It's just how things work. But this idea of shared life, of staying close, it just goes beyond homes and households. Family isn't just who you live with, it's who you build with. It shapes how villages are formed, how places are named, how communities grow. In fact, many of our surnames carry those family traditions. Let me try to explain this. In many parts of India, when families expand and members move out to nearby lands, they often settle in close clusters. The original village remains and new one is born, not from the government plan or something, but the way families are spreading out. And here's where it gets really interesting. Instead of naming these new villages after geography or distance, people name them after relationships. And these names are real. They're not poetic metaphors. They reflect how closely family ties are linked to identity, location. A great example of this lives in Telangana. Two villages, for instance, Pedapalli and Chinonipalli. Pedapalli literally translates to big brother's village and Chinonipalli to younger brother's village. In Haryana, for instance, or parts of North India, even sometimes I find them in Maharashtra, there are words like Khurd and Kala, which are mentioned at the end of the village. So Khurd is Khurd and Kala, which translate to, I think, in Persian, younger and elder brother. And the same stories go across the country. It tells you that settlements themselves are often extensions of family structures. When a family grows and members move to nearby land, the places they settle, they get their names based on kinship, who stay behind, who moved, and how they relate to one another. In fact, that is why in many villages, marrying within the village is forbidden because they seem to be your brothers and sisters from previous generations, or many generations ago. Unlike in societies where individual identity is front and center, in Bharat, family is the center. Here is the same thinking that carries into urban India too. Take the old Vadas of Pune. These shared homes were built around courtyards where multiple branches of the same family lived together. One family lived upstairs, another downstairs, a third one across the open courtyard. Every door was open. There were shared meals, news, shared toys, even wedding clothes moved freely from one household to the other. This is how, in fact, an architectural feature of many of our old houses are built on. In Bikaner, old Havelis, they were designed with galleries. They connected to one cousin's room to another. No need for intercoms or texts. Presence was enough. You didn't knock, you just walked in. Privacy wasn't the goal, presence was. And so, whether it's the naming of a village in Telangana, or the floor plan of Haveli in Rajasthan, or even a rural courtyard and household in any village, one thing becomes clear. In Bharat, family is never a background detail, it's a structure, it's the plan, it's the reason things are the way they are. Parenting in Bharat, therefore, isn't a checklist. It's not just feeding the child, enrolling them in a school, or checking their homework and things like that. It's something a lot more, a lot deeper. It's about shaping how a child sees the world, how they speak, how they share, how they sit when their elders are entering the room. It's about giving them values. And these values stay with them a long time after report cards are forgotten. In fact, it's not for no reason that people say it takes a village to raise a child, and there are so many villages. In fact, there's a very beautiful line from Hitopadesh. Matru pitru krita abhyaso gunitam eti balakah na garbhachuti matrena putro bhavati panditah. A child taught by their parents becomes qualified. Simply being born does not make one wise. And the Atri Smriti adds to this. The mother is not just a caregiver, she's the eldest elder because she shapes the household's way of being. From the moment a child is born, they start learning, not from the lectures, but by living. This kind of learning passed on without a classroom, frankly, is called often Kutumba Shiksha. The education that comes from simply growing up in an Indian household. Picture this. A child wakes up and sees their mother lighting the lamp near the tulsi plant. Not a word is spoken, but the message is clear. Start your day with focus, with care. The father is, at the dining table, sorting through the electricity bill, grocery list, half-written check. The child watches quietly and sees responsibility in action. Grandparents, they're probably sitting by the window, retelling stories from Ramayana, but they're not reciting for drama. They're slipping in lessons unknowingly. They're codes for decision making. They're exemplars, these stories, and no one is teaching because everything is being taught in some ways without being formally taught. In Telangana, a child might sit beside their grandmother, watching her make mogulu, rangoli patterns. When guests drop in unannounced, and this is what they often do, the children are the ones that are rushing to bring water, arranging the steel tumblers and hand out namkeen, or anywhere in the country. The children are learning hospitality without ever being told. This is what we do. They just do it because that's what they see, because that's how the Jnana Parampara flourishes over generations. In a small house, 5 cousins share a single room. One is reading, another one is folding clothes, one is studying for an exam, and somebody sleeping under the fan. Only works if you kick it twice, this fan. Maybe the fifth one is just doing all the things. And somehow it works. They don't complain, they adjust. They wait their turn. And through that, they pick up the skills everyone loves to list: time management, collaboration, conflict resolution. Of course, many times they're annoyed and they're angry. But remember that over a period of time, whenever things go south and things turn sour, they remember their families, the same cousins who they would be annoyed by, back in the days. All of this is Kutumba Shiksha, the kind that teaches a child how to share food before they serve themselves, to stand up when an elder walks, to speak last when an argument begins, to add that extra water to the dal, when guests show up. It's not about being ideal. It's about being involved. This is parenting in Bharat. The values aren't delivered in long speeches or served with rotis. So through Kutumba Shiksha, a child learns 100 things without even realizing it. But alongside these everyday lessons, there are some bigger moments, milestones that aren't just remembered, they're marked, they're celebrated, supported. Moments where family, community, and tradition, they come together in full color. These are called sanskaras, and they guide a person's journey step by step from before birth. You've probably seen or been part of one of them, probably, or many of them. You just don't know that they had names. We will go through a few. We'll go through a few. Jatakaran, Annaprashan, Chudakaran, and Vidyaram. And the further sections, you'll see what they mean. These sanskaras are every step of life. When you're born, when you begin, when you grow, when you marry, when you depart, someone's hand is always on your shoulder. At some level, this is the beauty, that these are collective exercises. You can see that in action in India. And no one really pauses to think or even notice it, because care isn't something limited to one household. Whether you are related by blood or you're not, it really doesn't matter. If you're part of someone's life, you're part of their care circle. That's how it is. Some your friends, Chacha ji is also your Chacha ji. And here's the thing: different regions might do things differently. Some places involve panchayat and family occasions, others rely on tight knit mohallas. Some communities gather around temples, other maybe gathering around harvests. But the core idea is the same: life is lived together, not alone, not like separate units. And let's be honest, in today's world, we are told that growing up means becoming independent, doing things on your own, setting boundaries, owning your space, standing apart. But in Bharat, growing up doesn't mean standing apart. It means learning how to stand together, even while being independent. Not because you can't do it, but because you don't have to do it. You don't have to be alone. And so here, asking for help doesn't mean weakness. It means you're part of something. Growing means growing with others. And that's the beauty of it. In a time when, I don't know, so many people around the world feel isolated, even while surrounded by others, and you know what I'm talking about. This way of living isn't really, the most desirable. What you've seen in this session, therefore, Kutum Shiksha, shared rituals, community parenting, everyday seva, it is not a list of traditions. We may call it many things, right? We may call it family values, social fabric, community care. But what it really is how life is meant to be lived. It is our Jivana Darshan, that we live together in families, in communities, and a way of seeing the world where people come first, where value isn't in things, but in how we live with one another. And yes, families might be loud. They might interfere, they might overfeed you and things like that. But they also show up every single time. And that is the most important thing.